Hi guys, this is just a quick-ish tutorial. So we are logged into Adams 2.1.0.5 and we have Prepared open in the background, and we're just going to quickly go over how, what and where to use the mission control panel. So to spawn objects in for use within the sim. Now, to use this panel, you must be connected to the sim. For this part, you can create pre-planned targets by clicking the pre-planned one and coming in and just clicking anywhere on the map, but it's a lot easier to do if you're using this. So we're going to connect to the sim. Now, the airdrop and mission control panel is divided into two tabs. You've got the airdrop controls and the mission controls. We're not covering the airdrop controls in this tutorial, we're just going to cover the mission control panel. So, the basic premises of this is to allow us to spawn objects in. And we can do this a number of ways. I'm currently at Learmonth, and I can tell it to take me to my location by clicking my location, and we get this little marker. You'll notice it's filled in the lat and long for me. Now, to spawn an object in, I simply click the drop down box here and select the object I want. You'll notice that we've got a fair amount of objects already in here, gathered by the libraries that RAF Virtual users should have. But you can always use the manual entry and type in an object name if required. I'm not going to go into detail on where you get this name from in this tutorial. We'll look at it in another one later. But for this example, I'm just going to spawn in a challenger real quick. I'm going to just to show you how this works. So what happens here is I click on the map where I want it to spawn in, and you'll notice it's given us our lat and long. It's asking me if I want a waypoint plan, but at the moment I haven't made any. We'll cover this in a moment. I give it a heading, so at the moment it's facing 0, which is to the north. I can put 90 in here and it will be facing to the east. I can give it a speed and an altitude if it was something flying, and I can tell it if it's on the ground or not. In this case, we're just going to spawn it on the ground. So if I click spawn target, then come over to Prepared 3D and look around, what we should find somewhere around here is a tank. And if we go to here, we can see that we've got the Challenger in. And he's just down the road here a little bit, facing as we pointed him. So if we look, I'm down over here. Now I'm going to jump back into the cockpit. One of the good things about this is both TACPAC and the built-in radar for Prepared will pick him up. We can do this for as many objects as we want, so if we move back down here a little bit, you know, we can spawn in, say, some smoke. Some more smoke. And if we switch over, you can see that we've got smoke spawned in on the runway. If we want to save this out so that we can use it later, we simply click the Save Current Targets list, and we can just save the targets out. So in this case, YPLM test, click export. And it's saved. To load the targets back in, we'll delete them all. So simply delete all spawn targets, we'll delete everything. We come back, we can see that they're all gone. And now we're going to spawn the targets in. So we go load pre-plan. We find that test export we just did just now. You'll notice it's just spawned them all in down here. Now you remember that I mentioned this waypoint plan option just here, and that's because we can spawn in and have something follow a waypoint. So for example, we could have a AWACS aircraft flying a circuit over the top. Let's go create that. So we click the create waypoints and we get this new window. Then we come over here. Now this does not automatically take you to your position because it's designed for making waypoints, so you need to know roughly where you want to go. We know roughly that we want to be at X month, which is somewhere around here, and if you ever get lost, you need to know where you are. There's nothing stopping you coming back and going, well, okay, here it is, it's near the Cape Range National Park, so I need to go further north. We go back to here, and we realise, oh, it was a little south. So what we need to do here to create a flight plan is we need to give it a name first, because otherwise we're just making it on none, and well, that's not going to work. So we're going to come here and we're going to call this Learmonth Circuit. Add plan name. You'll notice we now have Learmonth Circuit, so we're going to select it. I'm going to come down to Learmonth, and for this one I want the circuit's going to start just here. It's going to be at 1,500 feet AGL. I want the aircraft in question to be doing 200 knots. I'm going to add this waypoint. So you can see we get a waypoint here. I'm going to have him fly down here. I'm going to add another waypoint. You'll see it's drawing us a line. I'm going to have him come out to the left. Back down here. Round to the side. And finally back to here. So we have basically a really rough circuit, and he'll fly this circuit, and here we've noticed that, you know, when I click I get the thing. It's not going to add it until we click the add waypoints. If we need to edit one of these at the moment, you come in and you can click on it and then hit the delete key. So let's say number 5 was wrong. We click here, hit delete. But we need to remember when we re-add it, we need to decrease this waypoint number down to 5. And we're going to put it back. Doesn't automatically refresh the map pins, however. You need to click the refresh map pins after doing a delete. We're going to add this one here. Now, let's say for example that we wanted to have another plane that's coming in from the south over here. Or actually, we'll bring him in from the north. So we're going to make a new one, and this is called landing aircraft. So we're going to select landing aircraft. And for landing aircraft, we're going to say that he's coming in from X month. So we'll spawn him. We're going to say he's going to spawn in somewhere up here. At, say, 5,000 feet. Right. See, I've made a mistake. This one should be waypoint 0. So we're going to delete that. Refresh the map pins. We're going to set this to 0. We're going to add the waypoint. Now, as he comes down, we're going to fly him along the coast here. Going to come down Now, he's going to decrease to join the pattern at 1500. He's going to slow down to 150 knots. Now, I'm going to bring him down to midway in the pattern here. I'm actually going to drop him down to 1,000 foot AGL. Then we're going to put his base leg. As he comes around here, we're going to drop him down to say 600 feet AGL. And now, what we need to do here is kind of work out how we want him to fly. So, I want him to land right about here. So he's going to be at 0 feet AGL here, and he's going to be down to about 120 knots. Then he's going to come down to here. By here I'm hoping he's going to be down to 60 knots. And I've made a mistake because I forgot to tell it that when he landed back here, he's on the ground. But we can fix that. We can come across to here, and I can change this value to true. But what we're going to do is we're going to tell it that this waypoint here is on the ground. Add waypoint. Then he's going to be doing 20 knots. Then ten knots. 5 knots and 0. But I made a mistake again. What we should have done on this last one is tell it that we don't want it to loop. So we're going to come into 11 here. We're going to delete it because what we want to have happen is for him to reach this point and park. So we tell it do not loop, hit enter. So now we've got these two waypoint lists stored. If we refresh, we can see the two. How do we use them? Well, we go out to we go back to our mission design here, and we know that we want one here. We'll delete the spawn targets. We're going to spawn in the first one. He's going to be Learmont's aircraft in a circuit. We'll grab. You'll notice we don't have any aircraft currently in this list. So we're actually going to have to use a manual entry to do this. And if you give me a moment, I will actually quickly grab the name of one. So to work out where you get the names from, it's just the object name in the item. So I will show you in one moment. I just have to be careful what I show on my computer and what I don't. So I wanted a wedge tail for this, so I'm going to go find the wedge tail. So if we look at this, I've got one here, and where it says title, Boeing 737 wedge tail, this is the part we want. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to tell it that it's not on the ground. It's doing 200 knots to 005 at 1500 feet. spawn target. What we should see is he's up there. We should see him start flying the circuit. We'll double check on him in a minute. The other one we want to do is coming 180 from Xmonth on landing, and he'll be at 5,000. Now, I made a real big boo-boo. I put the aircraft up way too high, which is part of the reason we couldn't see him. I put an extra 0 on, but he's coming down to altitude. And we're going to spawn this one up here. So now, if we look, we've got a wedge tail up here, and he's flying the circuit. So he's up. If I tell my track IR to freeze. This is the one over Xmonth, by the looks of it. Yep. That's the one over Xmonth. And this is the one up flying the circuit. He's making his way down. We can see he's in a descent to get down to the altitude that he's meant to be at. And if we come back to hit side, we can see that this one's slowly making his way to here, I think we'll find. And this one's trying to fly this circuit as best as he can. So he should continue down. I haven't put in a lot of my scenery yet, which is why we're seeing a very basic Learmonth. So in a moment we should see him start to make a turn. We can confirm that that's going to happen by checking on here. So as he gets here, he should begin the turn. This one's up, so if we switch back to the other one, he's making his turn, and we should see him start flying to the south after he makes this turn. I didn't spawn this one in really well. Normally you'd spawn them a little bit further back so that they've got to run on the flight path. That being said, he's doing his best to correct for it all. In my rather bad positioning. So what we should see happen in a moment once he passes this waypoint is him try and adjust himself to do the landing. So he should start coming down towards this. We can see the other one doing his fly. He's still doing his circles. So as we can see, he's now starting a descent. You can see the other one out flying its circles. And the reason it's not 1,500 feet is because it's AGL, and you have to remember that it is above ground level. You can see he's put out his flaps and spoilers to try and slow himself down. It will keep in this version to the flight plan as best as it can. In an upcoming version, there'll be some changes. But that is the basics of doing this. Anyway, hopefully this helps some people a little bit.